All right, so cool. All right, so appreciate everyone joining us today. This is our first webinar for the Southern region. We're doing a specific webinar on civic engagement. So as political action committee members, myself, asking my brother, co-chair, brother Donald Broussard to join us as well. We really want to be as engaging with the brotherhood as we can and kind of give you guys the tools and any kind of support we can when we're talking about being engaged in our community, trying to make a difference. So, of course, when we think of your PAC, people also think about, elections and candidacy. But for me and for my co-chair, it's a lot more than that, right? It's about how do we be engaged within this idea of social justice and making a difference in our community from a political and a social standpoint. So we're really thrilled to have two esteemed guests, panelists to kind of join us today to speak about their experience within civic engagement and the differences that they're making within the community. And hopefully, brothers, from that, we can gain some ideas, have a pretty good conversation around ways to make a difference in our communities, ways to be involved and active. So with that, I'll kind of open up with some quick bios for both our panelists. So right here in front of us, we have Brother Lloyd Ford, a visionary founder of Creative Group Economics, has made a notable impact through his commitment to fostering economic empowerment, and innovation. He's a proud alumnus of Prairie View A&M University. Mr. Ford has dedicated his career to serving as a wraparound specialist at Worthing High School, where he plays a crucial role in supporting students' holistic needs. His passion for community development recently led him to run for candidate for city council, and a testament to his deep-rooted belief in civic participation and leadership. As a community activist, Mr. Ford's efforts extend beyond the classroom, embodying a relentless pursuit of social justice and community enhancement. And also for us today, we have Mr. Felix. So Mr. Felix is a dynamic community advocate whose dedication to creating positive change is rooted in both his educational and professional journey. As a graduate of Texas A&M University, Corpus Christi, Mr. Mueller has channeled his passions for service into meaningful career at St. Thomas Carpentry Society in Camden, New Jersey. Here he leads initiatives aimed at revitalizing the community, focusing on sustainable development and empowerment of local residents. His commitments to public service recently propelled him to the political arena, where he also ran for city government, seeking to broaden his impact through policy and governance. Mr. Mueller's work exemplifies a deep commitment to civic engagement, a steadfast belief in the power of community-based solutions to drive meaningful progress. So we're all thankful to have you guys here. We really are excited to have the discussion. And I just want to start us off by asking you both, what does civic engagement mean to you, and why is it important in today's society?
Well, for me, what a civic engagement means to me, basically, it's engaging with your local governing body. At the end of the day, Tip O'Neill said it best: all politics are local. Everyone is always obsessed with gubernatorial, presidential elections, which has the highest turnout. But at the end of the day, the local government and the decisions they make affect us before a presidential decision or Congress or what have you. And we need to keep that in mind. And unfortunately, local government really has the lowest turnout, the lowest involvement, because it doesn't have the, I guess, the celebrity status of presidential gubernatorial. And that's what it means to me, is engaging with them in a positive manner, utilizing the no blame approach. And I'll go elaborate further into that. And, it's important to say society, reason being that look at what we have currently in front of us on our televisions.
Mhm.
Democracy is just tearing up right in front of us. And it's something that we all can have a part in. It was designed for us not to have a part in, but we fought to get where we are today. We need to take advantage of the resources that are there to, have our say in local government.
Yes. Thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about civil and just civic engagement in its entirety, I guess my biggest thing is just getting people involved in something. And like I say, they don't always have to be involved in exactly my organization, what we're doing, but I employ people to get involved in knowing who your, like you say, your local government on, your city councils, your state reps, even being involved in your civic club groups, your super neighborhoods. And I think not enough of us are even engaged in the lowest level. Like you say, a lot of us are always paying attention to who the president, but we don't know, we seldom know who our city council people are, how our judges are. And just in my district alone, like you say, I ran for city council, we have about 124,000 registered voters, only about 21,000 actually vote. So we look at we got 100,000 people that don't be involved at all, and that's just the voters. With over 200 and about 230,000 people just in my district alone. So it's more people that's not engaged that are compared to people that's engaged. So that enrollment is very low.
Yeah, I appreciate the perspective from both of you gentlemen. And so maybe you can expand on that by maybe sharing some experiences or observations that you've seen or that highlight the significance of civic engagement and fostering that community development atmosphere that we're kind of talking about today.
I mean, I'll give an example, just kind of just what we're talking about. I think enough people, we're not worried about where our tax dollars and things are going. We always talk about the programs, but a lot of times we're not paying attention to the people that's getting a lot of the dollars. I know how it flows down here in Houston in Texas, but we flow a lot of money down through our TERS, which our TERS are basically kind of taxes that are incurred by the businesses, and that's what they use that as economic development or redevelopment. So they have a whole TERS board and also our management districts. A lot of money go through those, and these people are not elected; they are selected by our local government, either by vote through our city council or through our controller's office. A lot of things are selected, but by us not paying attention, we not knowing where our dollars are supposed to go, and a lot of times we don't have a sense of what the roles and responsibilities for our local officials are. So it's some education that need to go on with our application of what we need for our communities.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, what I could say here in Jersey, we had the significant thing was the civic participation law that was passed. For example, all boards and commissions has to be listed publicly and an application process. Because before it was the same board and commission members being reappointed, and you have the same decisions that are constantly made. So basically, it was a collective body of people from academia, um, what have you, government, business. It was a big group of people that advocated for this change, and it was very significant. Now more people are getting involved, and so much so that it's heavily advertised on city websites. I was looking at City of Houston, and it's posted on your website. You have to go through a couple of links to get to it, but there's hundreds of boards and commissions within the City of Houston. You have 11 district council people. You have 5 at large. It's a big city, so you need that much representation. But look, everybody doesn't have to be an elected official. You can become what we call in Jersey a citizen leader. You don't have to be elected. Those boards and commissions just have as much power as a city councilman. When it comes to planning or economic development or infrastructure, these things have dollars attached to them. They have jobs attached to them. You want to be on the forefront of these boards and commissions to get appointed to it and then serve your community that way. That's one of the best ways you can serve your community. Everyone always says vote, vote, vote. But if you're not involved, you're going to be less inclined to vote. So become involved. Take that initiative and become involved. Hundreds of boards and commissions, hundreds of opportunities to have your say. So that's one of the best ways I think that, civic engagement is significant. That's my observation that, how it fosters community development. At the end of the day, community is one where you break apart is common unity. And the common unity we all have is that we want a better quality of life. Unfortunately, we have different ways we go about getting that better quality of life.
No, you definitely correct. You hit it on the head with that because, like you say, a lot of people not paying attention to these boards and what, like you say, it's millions of dollars that attach to our TERS boards. And I know we talk a lot about that, but just in our Sunnyside board, the whole board is made up of all pastors within the area. And nothing against the church or pastors. Don't jump on me. But it's a certain thing that we are missing out and that are being untouched just by those decisions and the things that they're not doing. We have millions of dollars and they want to build welcome to Sunnyside signs type things. So it's so much economic things that we could be helping our communities with, but by nobody knowing about it and holding them accountable, it's kind of hard. And not to mention, they meet on Fridays once a month, 12 in the afternoon, which the normal person is not going to be able to be a part of. So we got to know that these things are taking place.
Yeah. You got to come, I guess, empower yourself. At the end of the day, education never stops. You're always a student. And if you're not empowering yourself, you're going to unfortunately be in the current situation. A lot of people are in post-industrial cities like where I'm at in Camden or in Houston. We allow these decisions to be made and we're wondering why this, train is passing us. Nah, we're gonna stand in front of this train. That's what we need to start doing by getting involved.
Yeah. And so real quick, because you both brought some pretty good points. So when we're speaking with the brothers of our fraternity, how can we not just encourage them, but show them ways to be involved? How do we get them involved or at those meetings for the tours or those community leaders or people leaders? I think you mentioned Felix. Like how do you become an individual in those spaces? And what's the best method to approach them?
I would say I tell people just kind of get involved. And one of the programs that we did here, that we do here in Houston, that my nonprofit do, not only do we build the websites for civic club groups, but we also pay for them. And we do that because a lot of the people that we want to start getting involved are usually people of the new generation. So it's no way that they really know when these meetings are, when they're taking place. It's just a very disconnect on information. And to be honest, the person that's really not looking to be involved, they not gonna go above and beyond to find when that meeting day is. Most of the people don't even know a civic club or super neighborhood is in their area in the first place. So it's always the lack of information.
Yeah. Some examples, I guess, best practices, what I live on is best practices. The state of Virginia, they have a PAGE program. The PAGE program is almost mandatory for high school students to participate in their government in the state level. So basically, it's like an internship they automatically have to do to graduate high school, and they get this muscle memory education. Most people learn better when they're doing it hands on. So this PAGE program, unfortunately, at last I read about it in Governing Magazine about 4 or 5 years ago, is being phased out because the interest has been waning, and two, the money is drying up for it. So they were trying to get the legislature to pass it again. Here locally, where I'm at, the mayor's office had created an internship for high school students to have them involved in local government as well. They can basically be assigned to a council person, the mayor's office. They can be assigned to various boards and commissions or department heads so they can get that inside game. And I don't know what the status of it is, unfortunately. I haven't heard much of it since the initial announcement 2 years ago. But I've seen a lot more younger people working in City Hall. So I guess that is the impact. A lot more younger people than I've been involved for the last, what, 10, 14 years in my local government. I'm only 38 and I have seen a great change. Also, Camden has one of the youngest populations in New Jersey, a third of our population under the age of 27. So it's kind of proud to see that people getting involved. But unfortunately, the ones that are getting involved, is in my opinion, they're more loyal to a certain political machinery. So, they do the bidding of the people that put them in those positions, which is scary.
And so you kind of brought up, Felix, a question I think I had. When we are in the community, how do we navigate certain political and social spaces? Because while we are a predominantly Black fraternity, we do have brothers who have different political ideologies, right? And by default, we also serve communities that have different ideology in general. So maybe one of you could speak on, or both of you could speak on best practices or ways to navigate some of those tougher conversations within the community setting when you're looking to help be active or involved with that space.
Well, I mean, I would say this. Everybody know, here in Houston, I've been an advocate for a long period of time. And even though I never felt like I was coming in hot, being, a radical type speaker, I had my run-ins with the political structure over here to the point where, even the NAACP tried to sue us here in Houston. But, I'm still a member, but a member of more of accountability more than anything. But I say that to say, you know, I think that's why we miss the boat. A lot of times we don't realize the power and where the power lie in our communities. And sometimes we need to take a little bit more time to investigate these relationships of who is who. And I think we don't, by us being, younger, trying to come up through this system, sometimes we can miss a lot of the information. So I would say definitely pay attention to your surroundings. Be at every meeting you can. Know the relationships of your community, and where the money and how the power is. The money is moving around in structure, and that will answer a lot of your questions of what organizations hold a lot of sway in your community. And me, anybody know me here in Houston, I try to go to every organization meeting. I don't care where it is, and I think that they also gives me a lot of my information of how the relationships go when we talking and doing a lot of things. So I don't think it's no trick to it. It just being there, being present to have the information. But other than that, be there as much as you can.
I guess when you come to the question you have in terms of different political ideologies and how you navigate that, um, this is my community organizing hat that I'm about to put on right now, and it's the power of the one-on-ones. One-on-ones, just meeting people where they at and having that simple conversation, asking, who, what, when, and ultimately ending with the why. And then you determine what your both of your self-interests are. That's the purpose of a one-on-one. At the end of the day, when you have this kind of conversation, which is very powerful, you'll find out you have the same self-interest. But like I stated earlier, you have a different way of going about achieving that self-interest. So basically, the purpose of the one-on-one is to bring you in alignment without getting into the hairy social wars that are going on now and all that. At the end of the day, we all want the same thing. We want to pay lower taxes. We want good quality schools. We want roads that we could drive on without tearing our cars up. We want water we can drink that's not going to kill us. You know what I mean? We want to feel safe in our homes. At the end of the day, those are the things that we want. Now you can navigate that with different political guides by having a one-on-one. It works all the time. I've talked to people that are most conservative Republicans to the most liberal Democrats. At the end of the day, either we agree to disagree or we leave respecting each other more because we sat down and had that one-on-one.
Yeah, no, I agree with that wholeheartedly. I spent 8 years in the Army, and one of my biggest takeaways was the one-on-one. No matter what someone's rank was, if we had again in a room together, closed door, usually we find some kind of agreement between the two parties that worked in both our favors. So anytime people get in front of a crowd, it's really hard to have certain conversations with people because they're looking at the presence of other people, other surroundings. So it's hard to get what you're looking for. But the one-on-one definitely a powerful thing. So well, I know with our fraternity, we do a lot of community service, right? And a big question that some brothers have, people have, is how do you actually measure success when we're speaking about community engagement? How do you put that into something that you can show and share with other people? Of course, we have social media, but maybe from your experiences and from your campaigns, how do you guys measure your success regarding that community engagement?
To be honest, I guess maybe I'm a tougher judge. I really don't. I guess I judge success on community impact. And even though people give us accolades for, the things that they feel like we've done, I feel like we haven't really impact a structure of our people or anything that we've done yet. I feel like all these things are steps to doing that. But I feel like they're definitely necessary steps. So I don't think we've really changed anything yet or really impact. Because at the end of the day, when you go think about it, this is a very big country. Even in your own city, I have people a block away from me that who wouldn't know who the hell we were, and I think that's kind of the unfortunate part. Um, I just think it is always more to be done. So I don't feel like we really made a social impact until we've really made a dent and change. So I really can't say when that is, or that we've had it already. Have we had little minor successes? I feel like we have. But I feel like nothing that really changed the structure of what we need to do for our society or communities just yet.
And then, Lori, real quick, maybe 'cause I think you're talking about creative groups specifically, but
You're
then
right.
how would you define it? Like, if an organization was doing something in your community, how would you determine their success? Is there something specific you're looking for?
Yeah, definitely.
Change. And
I,
so
I would say,
about that.
okay, I would say definitely how I would measure that success is either some type of social impact, whether you have a social or economic impact, whether you got a building of programs that you're doing that you own, things like that. It have to be something sustainable that we own or control within our space. But if we don't own it, you just got a program in the building. It's cool, but I feel like that's how I would measure success. A real program that own what they do, own their space, and control it as well.
I guess for me, it all depends what measuring stick I bring out for the terms of impact, what I'm trying to see. I have a different goal for whatever different objective I have on my plate. At the end of the day, for me, my purpose in life is to empower and effectuate change. If I empower one person to speak up, or I empower one person to go to a council meeting, or I got another person to become involved in a local governing board or county commission, That is a form of success. Ultimately, it's restoring hope. There are so many people in our communities that are so apathetic. They've been promised everything under the sun and nothing has come through. Now, to basically empower them in that way, that is one of the greatest forms of success. You could build a building, like they say, and hopefully they'll come to it. Like they say in economic development, which is different than community development. Economic development is top down. It's like, all right, we're gonna build it, they're gonna come. No, community development is going out to our community, talking to them like, yo, this is what is it we want, asking those questions. We want this playground. We want this type of facility in our community. We want these type of businesses. So ultimately, at the end of the day, is more community development will be the impact that I see and the work that I do. Because, when you look at where we're located, Houston or Canton, we're right near water. Some of the greatest cities that ever existed, we're going to get back to where we need to be. And the reason it's near water is because it's near wealth. Things coming in and out. Now, once our people are empowered enough and controlling that wealth, that's the ultimate form of impact, in my opinion.
No, I think they're both good. I think to your point, Felix, if you it depends on what you're looking for, what your objectives are, right? Whether it's economic, community development, whether you're trying to get some political activation, like everyone's overall outcomes look different depending on what the actual intent is. So I think you both gave some pretty great examples. And so maybe we could kind of expand on that a little further by kind of talking about some projects that you have worked on that kind of fit the scope of your objectives, right? So, Laura, I know you have a specific objective with the critical economics and everything you're doing here in Houston. Same thing with you, Felix, Cameron. So maybe you guys can touch on some specific projects you worked on that kind of highlight the mission that you're trying to achieve in your prospective communities.
Well, when I was in Newark, New Jersey, I worked on a project I walked in on that was pretty interesting. It was called My Front Porch, and it's placemaking. You take a vacant lot and you reactivate it. Rather than being a vacant lot that has trash and drug activity or prostitution going on in it, and a neighborhood that they seem to forgot because it's near public housing, but it's near one of the best parks in the county called Branchwood Park, which has a cherry blossom festival, 10-minute walk. So we activated this vacant lot. We put programming inside of it. We cleaned it up, put benches, had movie nights, had jam sessions by local bands playing. And then my colleague was doing a podcast, which I didn't know it was back then. This is 8 years ago. He's talking to one of the local residents. And we had found out one of the greatest impacts possible by putting this project together. We found out we kept two rival gangs from fighting each other. And the reason why they didn't fight each other, because there was kids playing in this vacant lot. The vacant lot was the borderline between two gangs that we weren't aware of from the two different housing projects. That's only like a 10-block radius. So because of this thing, they came to some type of peaceful agreement. They would not commit any violent acts as long as there was programming there. And then we confirmed that with the police reports that showed there was less gun activity, less violent crime because of this vacant lot.
And so I have to ask, is that program still going on today? Is that still a thing?
Unfortunately, no. The vacant lot was purchased by an investor and they put an apartment building on it. Because Newark is very, very hot real estate. It's right near New York City. And people rather go to Newark and pay $1,400 rent for a studio than $3,000.
Economically, that makes sense. I got that.
Yeah, so
That's something that hear that program not, because it definitely sounds like something that was really impactful to the community. So I think that was a great example. So I do appreciate you sharing that with us, Felix.
no problem.
For sure. I would say one of the projects that was our most substantial that we did the longest was, of course, our group is called Creative Group Economics. So I guess we started with the mission of, 600 people giving $20 a month. That's $12,000. What could we do with that? So we actually opened our first beauty supply store January 1st, 2020. We raised 100,000 just using a PowerPoint. We had over 1.3 billion shares of stock with our C Corp, our corporation, basically showing people that it's a different way of raising money and having your own things without going through. We didn't use any big bank institutions. We didn't use any credit. We didn't use anything like that. We just used individuals that we raised money from here in Houston. And we opened our first beauty supply store. Not only did that, but we had over 100 Black-owned brands on our shelves. at the Black Store. It was actually called the Black Store Beauty Supply Experience. We eventually had opened a nail shop inside. We had a community garden in the back. Also through this business, we also have our own credit card system where we receive the fees instead of going to Visa, MasterCard. It also comes to us. We also redirected these fees back towards the community. And that's how we were able to pay for a lot of the nonprofit things that we did. We fund ourselves. We never received any grants from all these things that we do. Would we receive some? Yeah, we don't mind taking some, but we were so economically empowered and showing people how we can do it outside of that. That was our biggest thing. And we ran that beauty supply store for about 3 years. Only reason why we stopped it because we realized we want to own the building that we have as well. We had probably put $100,000 into a property that we didn't own, and just to have it up to code to doing what we do, and we didn't want to do that again. So now what we're working on is actually having our own shopping center where we'll be renting out things where we can have our own banks and things in. So it's always an economic component of what we do, but through these economics, do we see we can solve these problems when it comes to education, and a lot of other things that we deal with in our community. But we also are avid believers that it first must do through economic empowerment, and we have the belief of like taking like anybody that studies Dr. Amos Wilson, and in order to solve the economic or education problem with Black children, we must first solve the political and economic domination of Black people. And to be honest, we being economically and politically dominated, even though we have Black people in the political structure, they haven't served us well. And being here in Houston, we know that we have a Black mayor, Black city council, that we had before. We got your Sheila Jackson Lee's, your Al Greens, but yet the Black-owned business that contract with the city of Houston is at 0.5%. And we just think that that's crazy. And so it's just so many different economic issues that we can solve, and it goes beyond just voting for the president. But it's so many different things that we need to pay attention. And I don't think we have the luxury of just focusing on one thing at a time. We got educational issues, we got economic issues, we got political issues. And unfortunately, we need to get people that have the passion in all these different areas kind of going. And I don't think we need 100% of our people, but we definitely need serious people that bring ideas and originality and also integrity to these seats and positions.
Yeah, and Lord, we've talked about this before. Like it is so many things. You can literally fill up a wall from items of just identifying a lot of the systemic problems that we were facing, a lot of social issues that are plaguing our communities. But one thing you kind of brought up was about strategizing. You kind of brought us about strategizing, coming up with ways to make a difference. And so I'm kind of curious, how do you feel, or what strategies maybe do you have or employ as men who have ran for city government? When we're talking about how can this, what we're doing with civic engagement, influence policy? How can we use these platforms that we're creating with our involvement in our community to make some actual substantial change from a legislative standpoint? And so hopefully maybe you can shed some light on some ways to do that.
What comes to mind is to make legislation happen. First, you got to understand the purpose of power, which a lot of people don't understand what it is. The purpose of power is to defend your values. And to obtain that power, you need two very important things. You need organized people, you need organized money. So that means, community organizing the people and raising those funds to basically make yourself a force to be reckoned with to get the, legislation you need. And that's also leveraging that power in so many different ways. Those organized people can not even be people in your community. It could be elected officials. It could be business people that want to invest. So once you have that, you can make that legislation happen. It's just knowing how to leverage it in an effective way. Unfortunately, a lot of people don't know how to leverage power in an effective way. They say, power is what is the greatest form of evil? I can't remember it at the moment. My brain is going in so many different directions, but once you learn how to leverage it, you can get things done that way. And it's organizing those people and organizing that money to then make yourself a force to be reckoned with and get things done. Once you have that, you can do anything. And the training that I learned that from was from the trainer that taught Barack Obama. So it was pretty amazing to see that training in effect. And it was just like, it was an older white Jewish guy that taught Barack Obama how to do everything he did as a community organizer.
I would say, to be honest, I would, and I'll give an example. If I would have won our city council seat, to be honest, I would have just broke through a lot of the red tape that most people try to go through in politics all the time. And for one, here in Houston, the city council get about $750 to $1 million of service funds. We would have dedicated that whole service funds to solving people's issues. Not only do that, a lot of people use not having the money in order to do these things. But guess what? District D is right next to all the stadiums. We would have had an athletic symposium. We would have raised money through that, and we would have used that money outside of city council in order to solve people issues. So everything comes down to a money issue and how well and how good and what's your ideas. And I think too much we get caught up into the bureaucracy, like you say, of politics and how do we get things done and who's going to get credit for it. And to be honest, we would have just made sure that we got it done. And I think so often we get things done when certain people bring it or bring it to us, especially here in the city of Houston. So many things go on through backroom deals and which not always bad. I think sometimes some things need to get done, but if it isn't being done in spite of the community, it don't need to happen. And I think too much we have a lot of politicians that take these seats and not enough grassroots people that are taking these seats that really have original ideas. So I think we would have just changed the whole fabric of how we do business in District D, and just taking a hold of all the projects that come through us. And I think we would have shut down a lot of things that don't serve the community but make money without having some type of community input or involvement in what we do. And I think until we have that person that's willing to just go there and really just rec shop and do things unapologetically, we have to really elect grassroots people. And again, if we just rival and wake up 10% of the people that don't vote, which is over 100,000 people just in my district alone, you could rival any local election here in Houston, Texas, Harris County. That's just what it is. So I think until we start taking back that type of thinking and that type of power, a lot of things won't happen. But I think it can happen, and that's one of the things that we're working on here in Harris County, especially in District D, over the next 4 years. So I can definitely constitute to that.
If I may, real quick too, one of the greatest people to ever do it was LBJ, Lyndon Baines Johnson, from Texas. There's a lot of books written on him. So I would say a grassroots person that studies how LBJ did it. Yeah, he did backroom deals. He got a lot of things done as president. And they write books about Lyndon Baines Johnson, all the things he got done, his accomplishments. So I would suggest any grassroots people to study the art of these people that made decisions. And LBJ, as the president and vice president, he made a lot of things happen.
It's kind of feeding off that. So I assume that most people who run for public office, right, like we'll use like Sheila Lee Jackson, for example, have a grassroots heart, right, at the core, right? They started off, maybe with a desire to be maybe in the justice system, some kind of format. They got involved in the community and they saw themselves maybe in public office. One thing about grassroots leaders or individuals in the community making a transition into politics, how do you navigate that almost transformation of your identity when you go from being a everyday guy when everyone people can knock on your door and say hello to someone in a position and now you have constituents from different backgrounds who may not align with your individual ideology. So how do brothers who are looking to transition from that grassroots level to politics, how do they not just get there, but how do they maintain their reasoning for even going in that direction? When we're thinking about, bringing power back to the people or to make a difference in their community, not doing for self, but they initially wanted to make a difference for those, around them in the neighborhood. How do they hold on to that perspective without losing sight of it, at the local government level?
I mean, to be honest, I think I think a lot of people, they say they go in grassroots, but at the end of the day, they go in grassroots, but through the Democratic Party. And I think when you attach yourself to the Democratic Party, when you start to go certain places, like you say, like national, like the Sheila Jackson Lee's, you start dealing with, I think you start depending more on the party than you do people. And that's where the transition starts to turn. You start realizing that we start really how many people that's not engaged. And so you start dealing, like you say, through the party and not through the people. And I think it's that process. Nobody really has perfected that grassroots process of how to get grassroots people activated and involved. So at the end of the day, we keep recycling the same voters or the same people, which are through the parties initially. And until we wake up an independent, really class of voters, I think that's how it kind of keeps going around and around. But until you get that real grassroots independent, I'm independent. So I think if we build a independent candidate, it has to be locally. It can't start nationally.
So to navigate the process, you got to stay true to yourself. It's very hard to maintain your integrity. There's a lot of things that's going to blind you. It's like a fishing lure. You see that thing under the water, you're going to go for the bite because you're chasing that clout, you're chasing the money. If you're going in there with that mindset, you're going to easily be manipulated to do what you don't want to do. You got to go in there being a person of integrity. It's very, very hard. Humble yourself. Also, always stay in tune with your community. Go into the community, shop in the community. You know what I mean? Get to know your community even more. Go places you don't normally go. Come out your comfort zone. Yes, you're going to encounter people that don't agree with you, but at the end of the day, you still represent them. And you remind them of that. Hey, you didn't vote for me, but guess what? I'm still here to represent you to the best of my ability. We can agree to disagree. One of my mentors, he's the current sheriff of the county government here in New Jersey. I would sit in his office when he was a city councilman, and he would give people the time of day he knew did not agree with him. And guess what? All they wanted to do was be heard. He'll sit there for 30 minutes and listen to them. That person left more empowered than the person that he said yes to, because he sat there for 30 minutes and listened to him. That's how you also stay true to yourself. Even if you don't agree with, you're going to happen all the time. At the end of the day, we're humans, right? We gotta go agree on every damn thing. So you listen to those people, you hear them out, and you know what? You may have some ideas you could borrow from what they're proposing to you. It may not be exactly what you want, but maybe you can merge something together and you can make something happen. But you gotta stay true to yourself. Don't go in there chasing clout. Don't go in there chasing the next position. You're like, okay, I got this seat warm right now. Oh, that state rep position, that look good, don't it? Oh, the governor house, that looks real good. You ain't gonna become governor of Texas. The day that happens, it's gonna be history making, like when Barack became president. That's what some people need to realize. It's reality. Too, you got to check yourself. And don't be afraid to have your peoples check you too. Physically, mentally, spiritually, have them check you, keep you grounded. So that's how I navigated the process. And I've been on a very long road, but at the end of the day, I find from people that I have more respect than a lot of current elected officials in the city. Because everyone told me at the end of the day, I've never changed. And I always come back to the community and ask what their input is. I never forget the community because that's who I am. It's like the African proverb, Ubuntu. I am because we are.
No, I appreciate that from both of you gentlemen. So we all kind of nearing the end a little bit, and I kind of have a few more questions, but I also want to make sure I save some room for a Q&A and also for you guys to kind of speak about the work you currently engage with. So one of my final questions is, as a fraternity, right, we are a collection of individuals, right, each with their own level of power, right, political power, but whether it's through the votes or whether we have brothers who are elected officials, whatever. Um, how do we how do we come together as a collective? And how do we take that power and then utilize it to collaborate with others to make a difference in our community? So maybe you can help us out with that thought process, or kind of one of your opinions on that.
Yeah, I mean, I have a good idea, especially, you guys being a fraternity, being close knit. I think y'all should almost have regional. Everybody a part of your fraternity should be a part of a neighborhood or something local and political. And I think having that, especially if you guys are in the same area or not even not in the same area, I think just the political information, I think the most positive and strongest thing y'all could do is organize yourselves in your own, not necessarily political, but your own power base of a fraternity, and that through that cohesiveness is what brings you power. Whether that be politically, whether that be on campus, whether that be anything. And I think the stronger you are with that and the cohesiveness, you'll be able to see that you can affect change in those ways, and getting other brothers, like you say, involved in the process. If y'all could say, hey, our goal each year is to get one bro elected into something somewhere, that starts to build power, and whether that be economically, socially, and of course politically. So it's so many different things that I feel like you can do, or whether that's supporting you guys starting businesses, find an industry that your fraternity can go into that you can own and control, and that y'all reproduce in more than one state. It, sure, I got a bunch of ideas, but I know that's just the way that I think for us politically, political power, and not economic, how you can position yourselves into doing something great. But I'll leave it there.
So just did some quick research. You guys are pretty stretched across the United States, it looks like, with a little void in the Midwest, if I'm looking at the right thing. You guys were founded in 1963. Offices in Baltimore, Maryland, the headquarters, correct?
Yeah, but we're everywhere. So
You're
I'm not
everywhere,
not
yeah.
sure
I'm looking
now.
at the chapter locator.
Yeah.
Now, as I stated earlier, the purpose of power, you got organized people, you all put a fund together, then you really start making that collective work. You leverage that. All these people together, imagine all these bodies. Let's say each person, how many members total is in your fraternity? Just give me a ballpark.
But you can put 800,000. I'm not sure the exact number.
Look at that, 800,000. Imagine each person brings 10 people. How many people you got? That's it. Just think 10 people per person.
Right.
You got more organized people. You start leveraging that. That scares some people. That would scare a lot of people. And that's what Martin was doing. He started empowering people when he started talking about what really mattered at the end of the day, economics. You start talking about that, empowering people like, yo, we all don't got to go to college. We all can take up the trades. Right now, trades are in heavy, heavy demand. Yeah, it's dirty work sometimes being a plumber or HVAC or electrician. But imagine if all of us was out there doing that, all that money that's out there, and we started absorbing that. There's just so much opportunity out there for the collective to really start leveraging and doing what needs to be done. You got 800,000, you bring 10 people each. I don't even care to do the math right now. That's a lot of people influence right there. And then imagine you make all these people registered to vote, and then you actually all voted. That is a crazy lever to pull. On your website, you got Kamala Harris here on the front page. I'll take pictures of Kamala, like I'm doing big things.
Try to, man. That Golden Brown
Yes.
tries to do the best he can. But no, I mean, I agree. I think there's so much that can be done with our organization. If we were to come together as a collective, if we remove certain obstacles or restraints, externally or internally, doesn't really matter. But if we forward, progress in one agenda. But I think that's the point of what we're doing here with our political action committee, that we started on a national level and then broke it down to the regional level, so that we could help create the organization within our community. So I think for us, step one is really to kind of hear from the brothers, looking to align with what their desires are, right? Of course, right? We can have national desires all day, but then also have the local desires and see what that is and how we can find ways to incorporate that into our objectives and our goals going forward. And then I would say step two is having conversations like this one, or speaking with individuals who are doing the work, right? And their different region of New Jersey, Texas, and can give examples about creative ways to approach the issues in our communities and working to a resolution. So I definitely thank you both for this amazing conversation and kind of giving insights into ways that we can be more active and proactive. But I also want to create some space and some time for you, maybe to, if you would like, to kind of speak about what you're working on right now, and then how brothers, if they want to connect with you, could do that.
I mean, I would say the easiest way, some of the things that we're working on right now is other little retail shops. We want to start dealing more in things that serve our community. So we'll be opening different little health shops that we got an unlimited supply, sea moss, um, natural oils, natural soaps. We just want to just be promoting something new within our communities. They're just new. We're gonna allow some of the students to work it in the high schools. We got about 4 or 5 interns at the high school now. So we just want to empower them to do something more. And if you want to help us, if you know any of your brothers that are about to open stores or restaurants or anything like that, again, we own our own credit card systems. We don't pay any fees. And you will be able to have full access to where these fees are going and how it's being interjected back into our community. So just, you're going to use credit card systems and get fees anyway. So you might as well give them to somebody that's gonna actually do something with them, and you'll be able to track on how it's being used. So we just think that's a big thing. And if we could get more businesses on board with something like this, I don't think most people can imagine some of the economics that we can bring back to our communities. And just to give you an example, if a business like Turkey Leg Hut was on this credit card systems, that'll be $10,000 to $15,000 we can bring back a month just to put back into our community. So that's a big thing.
For me, I'm really blessed to be able to work in the neighborhood I was born and raised at, which is East Camden. Uh, it's one of the nicer parts of Camden. There's been a lot of negative press over the years, but marketing wise, I like to say Camden is rising. I always call it the resilient city. RCA was founded here in Camden. TVs, record players, they all started here. It was a Silicon Valley before there was a Silicon Valley. Movies were made here, music was recorded here. So the current project I'm working on is called the East Camden History Mural, and it's partially complete right now. It's about 105 feet long, and it just focused on the history of East Camden to inspire people and restore that hope that there's a lot of great things that come from Camden, despite the negativity you hear every day. It has the logo of our organization, which is St. Joseph's Carpenter Society. We built over 1,000 units of housing in 39 years, affordable housing. And it started out of the church, St. Joseph's Church. We have Rosa Ramirez on the wall, Father Bob, the founder of St. Joseph's. Rosa Ramirez was the community organizer. Connie Williams, she was another civic organizer. The Penzerati shop. I don't know if anyone know what a Penzerati is. It's like a pizza turnover. It's like a big pizza taco. It was founded in Camden. Aaron McCargo, the chef from Big Daddy's House on Food Network, he's from Camden. He talked about the Penzerati. You can see it on YouTube. What else is on that wall? And the first African American mayor of Camden was from East Camden, Randy Primus, as well. So I highlight all this on the wall to show people there's great things that come from the city, not just graffiti, not just drugs or murder, like some people like to say, but there is positivity, and I want to restore that hope. And there's a lot of other community building projects I'm actively working on, and it's fun. It's not work to me. I love what I do. So I want to continue to do these community building projects, whether it be a mural and a lot of community beautification.
That's dope. And hopefully we can talk offline. 'Cause I think that's something that's pretty cool. And hopefully that inspires some brothers who, in your perspective, city or state, if there's a community that you're from or in, maybe that can motivate you to kind of get involved with the youth from an artistic standpoint, get involved with some creative economics from a financial standpoint too. But before we leave, I do want to open the room up to any brother who may have a question or an idea or just a talking point that you would like to present to the group. Feel free to mute yourself and kind of touch on that and ask either Felix or Lloyd a question you may have.
Good evening, brothers. I'm Donald Broussard, and I am one of the um, co-chairman of the PAC. And thank you for doing this. It means a lot to us and Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated Southern Region. So thank you again for that. One of the questions a couple questions. One, for the both of you, what one of your most successful results in growing community engagement? And the second one is the fact of how do you specifically measure success regarding community engagement?
I would say this. My most success that I've had, to be honest, is being consistent. We've been having community meetings once a month since 2017. And to be honest, most people don't expect us to be consistent in what we do in order engagement. Just setting something and sticking with it. How I would gauge success in that is, to be honest, how many people, when I'm having an event, how many people can we call out and actually get that understands the message, or even if they don't understand the message, understand that you're doing something serious and will show up. And throughout this political process, I realized that even politicians that have had years in the game, they still have trouble with getting people to show up. And I think that's how I start to measure success, is not how many politicians I get to show up, but how many normal people that I get to show up and actually want to come and be involved. And that's really rare, on not only getting people involved, but keeping people involved. And to be honest, that's how I've been measuring success lately, not in the success of money or economics yet, but eventually economic impact and how we create and change within our communities as a whole, infrastructure wise. What do we own and control? I think each years I graduate on how I measure success within the realms of what is capable of us doing, possible and probable. A lot of things are possible, but what is the probability of us getting certain things done? So kind of people power right now, but eventually more economic and change and systemic things. I hope that answered your question.
So for me, the project, the one I just mentioned earlier, the East Canada History Mural, I've only been in my position now a year and a half. It's probably one of my most successful projects and something I'm proud of because it's near and dear to me, being I was born and raised in the area, and to inspire the people that it is planting a seed. Now everybody's like, I want this mural here. I want this here. I want to know more about the history, because people were not aware of this stuff. And that right there is my measure of success, being that this project looked like it wasn't going to happen. This is the 5th wall in a year that I had to propose and then get agreement signed, and then the person was like, nah, I don't want it on my wall now, because other walls wasn't structurally sound. Finally, I found this one spot. If you drive into the Ben Franklin Bridge, thousands of people are going to see this mural. And the people that gave the ideas what goes on the mural was the community. It was the community input that made this successful. I know a lot about the history. I consider myself a nerd, but other people that lived in the community longer, they were like, nah, you got to put them on the wall. We got a Heisman Trophy winner that came from Canada, African American, Mike Rozier. A lot of people didn't know that. Few people did from the late 80s, but other people didn't. The governor used to live in East Camden, you know what I mean? So these are things that became a conversation, and other part of us, we merged 2 neighborhoods. In our community group that we had meeting, before it was 2 separate meetings, 12 and 12. Now we got like 40 people in the meeting because we merged it. It's the same zip code, it's just 2 different neighborhoods. So that's another form of success when we did that. And everybody didn't do it without any opposition. We thought because train track separated the 2, it would be different. No, it's the same demographics. So we merged that. We got this input for this mural, and now everybody wants a mural around the city. And the people that we got working on the mural are Camden residents. So that's even more success. The money is not going outside. It's staying internal. So now they're empowered to want to do more work. And the place we got the mural at, the business owner committed $15,000 out of his own pocket to make this mural a reality. We were short. We got public funding from the state of New Jersey to do this. We needed $15,000 more. He's like, I got you. I don't know this guy from a can of paint. He put up $15,000. He got the wall refaced. He put lighting over the mural to deter the graffiti artists. So now it looks like a museum when you walk on this road, the sidewalk. So that's how I measure success, and I'm very proud of this project.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions from any brother in the audience?
I got a question real quick. Hey, my name is Stefan Rutherland. I'm a member of the same chapter as Dominique. So let's put that out there first. My question is this: because you have people coming from different areas all the time, especially to Houston and even New Jersey as well, how can someone get to community activities like that if they're not from the area? Because the biggest thing a lot of times is when you get people from out of town, they come with their way and their views on how the city should look. And how do you get them to combine with what your view is and get an understanding from both points of view? Because just because I came from one hood doesn't mean I don't have the same struggles as you have, but I'm willing to do the work. So how do you get the people to mesh with each other? And also my other question is, what are your plans for financial literacy? Because that's the biggest thing in a lot of communities. If they don't know how money works and you use your platform, like you said, you said already about economics, but where are you starting with the financial literacy? Is it at the baby stages with young kids, or is it adults, or are we doing a whole holistic thing where it's the whole family learn about financial literacy.
Right. I mean, I would say this, to be honest, it don't matter what area. I realize that most people came from, we all, like you say, we all pretty much had the same problems. To be honest, some of the solutions are the same as well. So I think it's not a problem of getting people from different areas to mesh together. It's just getting people to come and do any work, period. You know what I'm saying? Whether they come from here or come from there, come be involved, period. I think that's the biggest thing, and stay involved. Now, when it comes to the economic and you talk about the literacy of it, to be honest, you know, I've been at a couple different levels. Middle school, at the beauty supply store, we had over 30 interns, 6th through 8th graders, coming in and out the store. And to be honest, I thought that that's the age they're supposed to be learning. But to be honest, as soon as we can teach it to them, they need to be learning something as far as financial, and that can start as soon as elementary school. Because to be honest, I'm in the high schools now, and to be honest, a lot of them already kind of shaped in the route that they kind of gonna go in a sense. And they kind of feel like if they don't have it, you know, it's kind of hard to guide them to a point, because we got some seniors that may have a 1.8 GPA, just to be frank. And only 30% of my parents even graduated from high school in the first place. So it starts at a different level of just kind of giving them opportunities. But to be honest, I had to shape my mind, because it was so many kids that needed help that I caught myself focusing on a lot of the kids that needed most of the help. And instead of shifting my focus towards not only kids that need the help, but the kids that are also excelling. So I also have interns on campus at the high school of kids that I feel like excelling, and some of them not. And so I kind of see how they mesh together and seeing how could some push the other one. So to be honest, it's all an experiment of what's the right way to go. I don't think it's no one way to skin a cat, as they say. But one thing I realize is through motivation, some type of motivation, and we more sense of feeding you what you want in order to feed you what you need. And to be honest, some of them have different motivations, some from money, some to food. So some kids, I go through maybe 100 things of noodles almost a week, just from feeding kids that come in there and talk to us and interact and seeing what their needs are. I have a natural hair class. I have students. Then I had a natural health class. Not one student came. So it's, you know, me playing around with what's their motivations. But again, it can start at any level, I believe, when it comes to our kids. They are brilliant. We just can't treat them as such. And we can't keep using things like ADHD and all the other things as obstacles, because they begin to use it as a crutch. I hope that answered your question.
So how I think to make people mesh when they're coming from different parts of town or outside of where we're from is creating an inclusive environment. That's one of the most important things. If people feel included, it knocks their guard down a little bit, you know what I mean? Even might change their mindset. Also, most importantly, making them feel like they're heard when they are feeling included, because, you know, usually we're in these group settings, it's like group think. Well, one of the leaders say this, we all got to say what he said. Nah, we got to hear what everyone got to say. Everyone have input. That's how you get people to start meshing. It's like, wait a minute, okay, they actually heard me. One, they made me feel included. Now I'm empowered. That's how you do it. Because at the end of the day, community organizing in general, you're all gonna have all leaders. You may have a good baker in the group. Everybody got to eat, right? They may not come to all the meetings. Start leveraging that baker. Okay, someone know how to make phone calls. They know how to use that right voice. I didn't say white voice, the right voice on the phone to get people to answer. You know what I mean? That's important. You got to have those people in your group. Everybody comes with different skill sets. Once you start identifying them skill sets, then you all meshing because you see you got one aim. That's how you make people mesh. And the other part of your question was the financial literacy, right? We offer it at St. Joseph's Carpenter Society to get people to buy their first-time homes and create generational wealth. Most of the people that borrow homes of the 1,000+ units are the great grandkids of the people we sold it to originally. Now they own that house. So the financial literacy is Rosie Figueroa, I'm sorry. Rosie Figueroa is the housing counselor and financial literacy expert. So she basically looks at a lot of people that come to get the training in the community. That's one of the most important things. If people see someone that looks like them providing the training that we need, that empowers them. I'm not talking about wearing a suit looking fancy. I'm like keeping it real with them. You know what I mean? Meet them where they at. If they want to wear cargo pants, t-shirts, and some Air Maxes out there, you know what I mean? Hey, go and talk to them on the corner. Be like, this is what economics is that way. Meet them where they at. But also you gotta look like them. That also empowers people. We all know that. There's studies that show students learn better from somebody that's teaching that looks like them, or they're African American, Hispanic. You know what I mean? We look at these people as our mentors, as our models. That's how you empower them for financial literacy. And you should start at a young level. I'm trying to teach my daughter. She think because I'm middle class, she think we rich. I'm a single dad. I got to remind her every day how frustrating it is because she watches Ryan's World Toy Review and the royalty family and think that's how our life is. I was like, baby girl, I can't buy an iPhone every day. I don't got Gucci bags. I barely got freaking Michael Kors money. You know what I mean? You got to keep it real with these kids, and that's how you empower them too. With the financials, you got to start younger and work their way up. They got plenty of YouTube videos for different demographics to learn financial literacy. There's so much free education. Also, Udemy. They got training for everything on Udemy. UDEMY is owned by Microsoft, and do they have LinkedIn too? All those type of trainings that you can get on there. So it all depends on the person about the financial literacy. If you really want it and you got the will, you'll learn anything. But also you empower people by having people that look like them teach them. You teach one, that's how you reach one, right?
Yeah. All right. So I really appreciate the feedback you guys given. And brother, thank you for the questions you asked and being engaged in this conversation. So I know we're a little over time, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time because it is late on a Monday. So thank you both, Felix and Laura, for being here tonight and speaking with the brothers of the Southern Region for Iota Phi Theta Fraternity Incorporated. Thrilled to have you guys, and we'll love to have you guys back maybe in the future to talk more about what you're doing and other ways that the brothers can be involved in the community. But with that, though, I thank you for your time. Brothers, I thank you for yours as well. And, you guys are free to leave, but also be on the lookout for some future events that we have. So thank you guys for tonight. It was a wonderful conversation, honestly.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you, bro. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep. And brother, this will be a recorded session. It will be publicized. I'll send it out to the region. It'll come down to your chapter. So if you want to share with friends, if you want to share with anyone, really feel free to. Give me a couple of days to get it edited, and I'll make sure everyone has a copy. Same thing to you, Lloyd and Felix. I'll make sure you guys have a copy as well.
Thank you. Have
Thank
a
you,
great
brother.
evening, everyone.
All right. You have a good evening. Thanks.
All right. Peace.